Hello and welcome to Botanists in Paradise. My name's Nolan, and right now I'm up at about 9,000 feet elevation at the Methuselah Grove in Southern California. And this is our first major stop on our 4,000-mile botanical tour of the American Southwest. And the reason we came up here today was to look at bristlecone pines. Here's one right here. They've got these kind of pipe cleaner-like branches. They've got needles and fascicles of 5, or 5 needles per little bundle that's coming off the stem. And they really do have these really bristly cones. Zoom in, this is a very sappy cone. It's kind of hard to see, but they've got these sharp bristles coming off the cones. And these bristlecone pines up here are special because this is where 2 of the world's oldest trees were discovered. In fact, the world's oldest non-clonal tree was discovered, although that one was cut down accidentally. Big bummer. I don't think that guy ever forgave himself. The oldest trees are actually up on the hillside over there because the climate is a little harsher up there, and because it's harsher, those trees produce less growth per year, less new wood, but it's a thicker, more resinous wood that's more resistant to pathogens and fire and, the cold. And then down here in the valleys, the trees, they grow a lot bigger and they grow a lot faster, but they also die a lot younger. So the oldest tree here discovered was it was around 5,000 years old, which is incredible. And it's also really cool that they're one of the only things that can grow out here. It's really harsh climate, and also they're growing out of this cool dolomite soil. You can see this here, or dolomite rock, which is similar to limestone. It's made out of, it forms in shallow seas. It's a sedimentary rock. It's made out of the shells of, the calcium carbonate shells of little algae and plankton. And so there's nothing else blooming up here, but tomorrow, or maybe tonight, we're gonna go down into Death Valley over there. Oh boy. And see if we can find anything blooming. Mia doesn't think there's gonna be anything blooming down there, but I do. We'll see what we can find. Ooh, take a look at this bright red astragalus here. Growing right by the side of the road, right by some nice trash. But a lot of times you do find really cool plants growing on the side of the road because the road sheds a lot of extra moisture when it rains, especially in the desert here. Plants really like that. I think this is Astragalus coccineus. Could be wrong about the name because I'm pretty far from my home range here. But this is really cool because I don't know any other members of the Astragalus genus in the Fabaceae family that are this bright red color. You do get some other bright red Fabaceae, but I've never seen an Astragalus this color before. It's wild. And of course, like a lot of desert plants, it's covered in this fine white hairs to reflect sunlight and deter insects. Really amazing. And so it really is comparatively lush up here to down in the valley down there. This range, the Panamint range, is able to capture just whatever little moisture is left over from the Sierras over there. And so there's some dwarf pine trees growing up here, and there's right there's a pine tree, pretty gnarly looking. There's some really nice patches of cactus. I guess this is probably an Opuntia species. Big, huge, ancient patches of cactus. And then there's some real scraggly looking sagebrush. Artemisia tridentata maybe, or arbuscula. Something kind of cool about the the plants up here is that, and at elevation a lot of times, is that they're really, really highly aromatic. So they concentrate those aromatic chemicals, and the sagebrush smells super strong and potent right now. Another one of the cool shrubs up here is this ephedra, which is really a bizarre looking shrub. It's got just these leafless stems, these pencil-like stems, and this plant is also called Mormon tea. It's really nicely aromatic and makes a good tea, and I guess it's one of the few vices the Mormons allow themselves. I guess they didn't specifically ban this one in the Book of Mormon. Anyways, we got just incredible views up here. Somewhere over there is Las Vegas, shrouded in the haze. But yeah, I guess next we're gonna hike down and try our luck in the Mojave. But we'll see. It's kind of a drought year down here. All right, this is so bizarre. Almost every single juniper tree out here is covered in huge clusters of this parasitic mistletoe plant. You can see here, these are the regular, this is what the juniper leaves look like. And then this is the mistletoe up here, this parasitic epiphyte that just fuses into the branches of the juniper. And the mistletoe has these really cool little berries on it. They look like little juicy berries. They kind of look like little fish eggs. And I don't know too much about this plant because it's pretty rare in Washington. I heard one time that it doesn't actually affect the host plant that much, but I find that kind of hard to believe when you look at the size of some of these clumps. And this juniper tree looks like it's struggling. All right, so this has got to be California's most iconic plant, maybe right after the California poppy. This is Yuccabrevifolia, also known as the Joshua tree. And this is the first one we've seen in bloom. We saw some pretty big forests of this in Death Valley, but this is the first one we've seen with flowers, and it's got these cool fleshy white flowers, and they smell like fungus to me. They smell a lot like maybe like a portobello mushroom. And if you open them up, you see they got these big fleshy tepals, and there's 6 of them, which is a common trait of monocots. Monocots being plants like orchids and irises, lilies, grasses, palms. And it's kind of unusual to see a monocot that's decided to take on a tree habit. I can't really think of any other examples in North America of this. In Africa, of course, you've got all the tree-forming aloes, but it's really interesting to see a yucca take on a tree habit, because usually they just form basal rosettes on the ground. And you can see it doesn't have true bark, and it doesn't really have a true wood like you'd expect from a dicot. Instead, it's got this really kind of papery, scaly bark like you'd see on a palm, which is of course another monocot. Unlike all yuccas, it's just got these wicked sharp leaves. But I'm super happy we got to see this one in bloom. Earlier in the trip, we were surrounded by some of the oldest trees on the planet, the bristlecone pines, around 5,000 years old. But now we're looking at an even older organism. This ring of shrubs here is known as king clone, and it's a clonal ring of creosote bushes that's been dated by multiple methods to be nearly 12,000 years old, making it possibly the oldest organism on the planet. Its only real competition that I know of is the giant clonal aspen grove named Pando in southern Utah, and potentially the giant honey mushroom colony in Oregon, which is thought to be the largest organism on the planet. So here's a closer look at king clone. Now, king clone is not blooming right now, but you can see it's got these tiny, sticky, resinous leaves. And it's almost unimaginable that this has been growing here for nearly 12,000 years because, you know, where I'm from in Washington, 12,000 years ago, my hometown was buried under several miles of ice. And it's hard to believe that the climate here has been stable long enough for this shrub to survive.